Welcome back to episode 704 of This is Gravel. On Gravel Guru, we've got Bobby joining us, we've got Neil joining us, and we're talking Flint Hills Gravel. Hey, welcome back, Gravel Guru followers. Producer Matt in the studio with Neil and Bobby. Bobby, welcome back. It's been a little while.
It's been a couple years, hasn't it?
It has been a couple years pre-pandemic. I think season 5. You were here for our 100th episode.
I was.
Yep. And to be clear, you were here for like 98 of 100 episodes before that. Right. So it's good to have you back here.
Thank you.
Coming off a busy weekend here, in Kansas.
We had a very busy weekend in Kansas. Loved being in Kansas during this weekend. So.
What? Give us a little bit of overview about your event that went on.
We had a gravel ride, big group ride in Americas last weekend. So the Flint Hills Gravel Ride and run this year. So.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we'll dive into that a little bit more later. Neil, what have you been up to?
I've been trying to stay as active as I possibly can because I haven't been able to be too active. I am running a little bit more. Still not able to really get on the bike.
Do you ever run, Bobby?
I did that weekend. I ran back and forth. Yes, a lot.
Okay, well, that's fair.
Yes.
Running's not a bad thing, Matt. You should try it sometime. Speaking of trying new things, what have you been trying, Matt?
I did. Yeah. I am trying new things. April 4th, I took over management of Gravel City Adventure Supply Company here in Emporia, so running the bike shop, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been a huge learning curve, though. I will say that much. But it's been such a great change from my former life where I kind of sat in a desk chair most days and, had a blast there, but really enjoying being downtown. I know, Bobby, you've run downtown businesses before, and there's just something about being on Commercial Street or downtown here in Emporia, Kansas.
I love being part of the downtown, absolutely. Even when we were in Kansas City, the job was downtown. Love being downtown.
Yeah, so I don't know. I grew up, we're sitting in my dad's print shop right now. That's where the studio is in the back. I'm a downtown kid, grew up running around after school downtown, and I'm not sure I realized how much I missed being able to look out the windows and see people walking by and having a good time.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I think that's probably my favorite thing about being in the bike shop right now is just the downtown community. So anyways, we're going to jump in and get talking about the second year of the Flint Hills Gravel Ride. Tell us about the first year and how we got to the second year and where you are now.
Yeah. So first year first year was last year, 2021. And of course we had the lead in of COVID restrictions. So it was a little bit constrained. We started off with a 150 cap, and we filled that immediately last year. And then we were able to raise that to 250, filled that immediately, and then we kind of bled up to 298. We had 250 show up. So I didn't know going into 2022 that if we were just lucky, because everyone was just tired of being home with COVID. So you never know what to expect. And we would have been perfectly happy again with 250. It was a nice intimate bike race.
250 last year and raving reviews about it. Everybody that was there loved it. We had a great time. Neil and I were there most of the day last year at the finish line. Yeah. Had a fantastic time. It just felt like a good thing to be at. I don't know a better way to describe it. How would you?
Last year, I just enjoyed being there. Like I say, it was April 2021 at that point, so we were kind of just coming out of
a
lot of restrictions and waves, and we had just had other events that had canceled before then. It was like, this is our first chance to kind of really be back together. Even if it's only about 250 of us, it was just awesome to be back together. And I had a blast down there. I really did. I had a good time, even though I wasn't riding. I was just helping at the finish line, cheering folks in. 2021 was awesome, and I was looking forward to coming back this year and getting to participate.
Yeah,
I did participate.
You did participate?
You did.
Yeah.
So
he ran across the finish line with Lane.
Yeah, you did. You did the run this year, and
yeah.
I guess we'll jump into what you added this year.
Yeah, let's do that. So this year, without the restrictions, I was able to make the event more of what I had envisioned and more of what I wanted it to be based off of what I've done in the past. We were able to add a 6K, which I have learned that a 6K is very different than a 5K in a runner's point of view. You have to be right on the dot with the 6K. It's very important that a 5K is different than a 6K.
So it's not like riding your bike 200 miles and it being like 209.
Right. In the cycling world, you say you're going to throw an 80-mile race, and it could be 79, 81, 82, 83, whatever. It needs to be right on the dot. So that was a learning curve, but we got it. We had a 6K and a 10K this year. And then we added a 120-ish mile adventure ride this year, which for those of you, an adventure ride.
It sounds like, just, shout out here a little bit, that it was truly an adventure.
It was truly an adventure. Okay, fine.
Okay,
So,
explain to us what an adventure ride is first.
All right.
Getting ahead of yourself.
Sorry, I'm just so excited.
Let me lead into this. Right. So, in my vision, the adventure ride is really just what we grew up with going to gravel events. A throwback ride. It was cue sheet only. I did take it a step further. There was no map provided, so you just had a cue sheet. And the cue sheets were not given to you until you lined up at the starting line, there was very little prep. The only prep you knew about was that there were going to be 3 legs, and you needed to equip yourself for a 50-mile leg. You didn't know where the leg was going to be, but you needed to be ready for 50 miles. So, and then that also gave me the freedom to play in the design.
That's very much a throwback type event.
Yeah.
And that week, that was the first full weekend I'd been at the bike shop type deal. I'd been there all week, and then your event came that weekend. And talking to people doing the adventure race, what about cue sheets and all this stuff? And we've been around gravel 7-8 years, all of us, where we've been actively participating in it and taking part in events. We've been riding bikes a lot longer than that. But the amount of people that I think we forget how much some people are new to gravel, that it's not all of us that have.
What's a cue sheet?
And I was talking to them about the old school. You go get the mini clipboard.
Yeah.
You drill the holes. You zip tie it to the arrow bars, like the whole cue sheets, and it was just a whole new knowledge base, kind of returning. It was really kind of a flashback type deal.
And that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted out of that. There's always going to be those people who want a hardcore race, and that's what the 80 mile is for. I mean, you wanted that. I wanted the adventure. My envision was you'd get 5 or 6 people together, and they just kind of stick together throughout the whole ride. And that's what happened from what I hear.
Yeah. So, cue sheet only.
Cue sheet only.
Now, after making a set of cue sheets for an event, do you understand why all the race promoters went to
horrible.
GPS files?
It's horrible. Making the cue sheets for the event is absolutely horrible. Even if you do it 100% perfect, which I did not. I did it 99% perfect. But even if you do it 100% perfect, you don't know what the other person is thinking 80 miles into a ride when they're starting to, when their minds start to drift a little bit.
Well, my thing with cue sheets is you have to remember, like, when you make them, you've got to take yourself out of your local environment. Where there's some things that just make sense to us on our local roads here, but if you got someone coming in from Iowa or wherever, they don't know these roads, so maybe it's a little bit different.
Well, and it adds to it when you say it's an adventure and be ready to be surprised, because then if it's wrong, they're thinking, "Oh, Bobby's just surprising us." No, I'm not surprising you. That is wrong. Don't do that. But everybody got in safely, and I think the most that anyone went over was I think we had someone go 9 miles more than they needed to. So, and that was because they thought I was surprising them about 5 or 6 different times. So they went.
There was only one surprise, right?
There was one true miscue, and luckily, if you turn right, it was a dead end, but into a field.
Yeah.
An empty field, and if you went left, you went the correct way. So most people got to the field and they realized, wait a minute, this is not probably accurate, and they went the other way.
That's I know there was some adventure elements to the race, and if you live in Kansas or anywhere around here, this has been a very interesting spring, just with the burning season.
Yeah.
It has been so windy in Kansas this spring that there's been so few days for the farmers and ranchers to burn the prairie and whatnot that your Saturday became one of those days where at the morning it was a calm morning, great morning, and then it was not calm, and there were fires.
Well, it was a typical Kansas day, except that instead of starting off at 20 miles per hour, it started off at 10 to 15. So a lot of ranchers had planned, this is the day we're gonna get these filled. This is the day, and they did all at once. And then the wind kicked up to 20 miles per hour. Now, let me be clear. There was absolutely zero fire emergency or fire scare whatsoever. It was just heavy smoke, and then you had the 20-mile-per-hour winds that blew that smoke across the road. Ooh. So it made visibility poor, breathing poor, air quality poor.
Well, and those fires could have been at Cassidy, the way that wind was blowing.
The wind was absolutely crazy.
Because I know I stepped out of the bike shop. I was there for the starting of your event and whatnot, then came down to the bike shop, and I looked down Commercial Street, and you couldn't hardly see the railroad tracks for the smoke that day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were in Americus, which was 10 miles away from where the fires were, and you could still smell the smoke and everything. So, I mean, visibility was fine.
But it's Kansas in the springtime.
It's Kansas in the spring. You're going to have that. In that race state, you're going to have that. And you know how we're lucky enough that in Kansas we have a gravel event every weekend. So that's the race date. You know, that's it. So
no, absolutely nothing you can do about that. You know, it's like trying to control the weather.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Talk to us a little bit about what courses did you do this year? Did you change them from last year? I know, speaking of weather, you had some mud last year.
Yeah, so philosophy change. Well, not really. We all know that historically, I will ride anything. You know, if it's mud on the course, if it's windy on the course, rain on the course, you sign up for the race. You know, you go ride it. So I do have that mentality, but I am getting older, and I am being a little bit more empathetic towards others. And last year we accidentally, and it truly was an accident. We had a mile of mud on the 30-mile course, which is kind of the family-friendly course, and we had a mile of hike-a-bike on a family-friendly course. So this year, guaranteed. There was no dirt roads, no B roads on the 30-mile course. That's a family-friendly ride. I want people to be confident and enjoy it. Plus, we added a juniors race in this year, which you didn't necessarily have to have a parent with you. You had to have a guardian on the course, but not like right beside you. That guardian could be miles back. And so I wanted it to be safe for the juniors to get out there and race. So we had that. We had 320 people in that category. And then we had the...
So wait, you had 320 in just the short distance?
Yeah,
and you only had 250 last year.
Yeah. We had 250 for the entire thing last year, and this year we had 320-ish just in the short distance.
Okay, so keep talking about routes.
Okay, so then we had the challenge, which is the 80-mile race, which I found every hill I could possibly find in that 80 miles. And people, I mean, they loved it. It was a great race. You get a little bit of everything. You get a little bit of the Flint Hills. You get a little bit of water crossings. You get a little bit of dirt roads. Anyway, I think we had 340, 350 in that category. And then we had the adventure, which was capped hard at 75 because you get so spread out.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we had 711 cyclists sign up this year. And then we had, I think, 45 runners sign up this year in the first year.
So you went from 250 last year to 750 participants?
Yeah. So, yeah, it's just quite a jump.
How did that change things as a promoter for you?
Yeah, so instead of walking around, I sprinted around.
And didn't sleep at all.
And didn't sleep very much. So, yeah, I will make one admission, and I overthought everything as much as a person could overthink everything. But one piece is... from a runner's point of view, I didn't think about providing them a map because I'm a cyclist, and cyclists, we put in the GPS and we go and we ride. So at 3 o'clock in the morning, Saturday morning, I wake up and I'm in a camper next to the headquarters, and I wake up and I can't sleep, and I think, wait a minute, how are they going, other than following the guy in the four-wheeler, how are they going to know where to run? I mean, I know where to run, but what happens if they didn't look at a map beforehand? So I woke up, I got up at 3:15, and I went next door to the headquarters, and I grabbed every single 2 foot by 3 foot piece of cardboard I could find, and I went out and marked the course for them that morning at 3:30 in the morning. I was out marking courses. So, and from then on, it just went, I mean, it was just boom, boom, boom. By the time I got back, people were showing up at 6, and it was just go. So.
Wow. Yeah.
And it worked out. I mean, everything was perfectly marked, so, everything went well.
So, we're kind of talking in the philosophy. You're talking about this. What made you want to, you're sitting around during a pandemic. You're seeing all these events canceled. What made you go, I'm gonna schedule an event for 2021?
Okay, I had been wanting to do an event for a long time. Okay. Because you always want to, once you do something enough, if you're passionate a lot about it, you want to put your own spin on it, and you want to see what you can do with the event. So yes, I mean, there were a lot of factors, but the main factor was sitting around during the pandemic. I have gone to a lot of events for the past, 7, 8, 10 years. And I enjoyed being around the kids and being around the house and being around our gravel scene here during the pandemic. And you take a lot of solo rides, and you remember, not like you forget, but you become reacquainted with the roads that you grew up riding. And I became, you get very nostalgic. I grew up in America, and they're on those roads. And you start thinking about, my cousins and I used to ride down this road. I used to hide from my parents down this road, And even in high school, we used to drive really fast down this road, and stuff. And you're thinking, okay, I want a race that's just here on my roads.
You want to share it.
Yeah, and I want to share just this area with people. And so it just felt like the right time. Now, I will say it did feel a little humorous to November of 2020 to announce a brand new gravel race in the middle of strict COVID restrictions. I mean,
and it wasn't even April 1st.
no, it wasn't April 1st. And it did feel a little silly, but it went. I mean, it went well, and I'm really proud of what we've done.
Yeah,
so
we're excited for you.
Yeah.
And it's one of those. You kind of hit my next question: why America's Kansas? But for me, America's Kansas is almost perfect for this event. I mean, you are a big event in America's Kansas, and if you ride out of Emporia regularly, we love Emporia, we love downtown, but we have about 10 miles of floodplain in all directions.
Right.
So you are at the hills, basically.
Right, and that thought process went into it also, is that we always talk about that, and we always joke about that as locals, is that you have, on any given ride out to the Flint Hills, you have 20 miles of just flatland. You have 10 miles out and 10 miles back of flatland. And that's really regardless of what direction you had. And so Americas just gives you that little jump. I think we have about 3 miles before we hit the hills and stuff.
Okay.
So.
Wow. Yeah, it's a fun area, fun course up there. I think it's so much fun as a promoter. I think you're deciding to do it again.
I'm always doing it again.
Just doing it again later this summer.
Yeah. So going back to why I chose Americas, knowing those roads well and all the memories I have there, one of the first places that I went to a gravel event at was the Macy's ride up in out of Eskridge, Kansas, that Ryan Dudley put on. And I remember being absolutely destroyed physically every time I went and did that ride. It always seemed like that was the hottest day of the year when we went up and did. Yeah, right?
Always.
Yeah, Neil, you've gone quite a few times up there.
Yeah, it's always been the hottest up there in Eskridge, and you're exposed. That's the
You're
problem.
exposed. It's just harsh up there. The roads are steeper. Now, I don't want to oversell it. There's a lot of very pretty rolling roads up there also, but there's not a lot of flat. You don't have a lot of pure recovery. You do have a lot of recovery, but it's not like here where you get maybe 4 or 5 miles of a little bit of flat before the next hill. That hill's coming, and you can see it, and you got to be ready for it. So 3 years ago, I think Ryan stopped doing the Macy's ride, and I miss riding up there. In the last 2 years of Unbound, I got destroyed again going up. We went up to Wabansie County, and last year in particular was the first time I had not finished a Unbound gravel ride in about 7 years, and because I forgot how hard it is to ride up there if you're not prepared. So I wanted another ride, and I wanted it to be in Wabansie County to show off that county. It's going to be out of Alma, which is a little bit better equipped to handle if it grows to a larger crowd.
And Alma's been a checkpoint, I think, on Unbound in the past.
Alma has been a checkpoint for Unbound and for Macy's in the past.
Yes.
So it's always been a checkpoint town, kind of like America's. It's always been not a checkpoint town, but a on-route town. So Alma's always been that way. Alma is right off of, it's kind of like Emporia, where it's centered around larger connections to cities, Manhattan, Topeka, Wamego, Kansas City. You can just get right to it pretty easy.
Being right there on I-70.
It's right there on I-70. And it's right, you immediately leave town and start climbing a hill. And that's what I wanted. I will say, I designed these to challenge you, but not to destroy you. I still think gravel should be fun at the end of the day. So instead of a 100-mile course, I do think we get a little caught up in the gravel scene about the century rides or whatever. A ride can be just as hard and just as pretty at 70 miles or 60 miles or 80 miles.
But it's not 100 miles on Strava.
Right. It's not 100 miles on Strava, but it's more climbing than you're going to get around here in 100 miles.
Yeah.
So, for example, the 75-mile course is going to be about 5,000 feet of climbing, which is a lot more. I think my 100-mile course or my 80-mile course in Americas was about 3,300 feet of climbing. So it's going to be a lot of climbing, but it's also a lot of descending.
What was that distance for 5,000?
75 miles. It's also a lot of descending. So for every hill you climb, you get to descend. So it's also got 5,000 feet.
It just doesn't ever seem that fair when you're on the bike.
I know. But you got to keep that in mind. It's just as much descending as it is climbing.
I'm good at descending.
Plenty of times.
Yes.
It's the time, though. The time to climb versus the
Well,
time
and
to
that's
descend.
ultimately that's what it comes down to. Is your saddle time on the bike is the same whether you're doing the century, the 70, the 75, the 80, and that's my point, is that it's the same saddle time. So it wouldn't be fair to throw you in Wabansie County in July and have you do a century ride. you would be on that
Correct.
bike the entire day, and you would be physically destroyed for the rest of the weekend.
And there was a time back when Ryan used to do what he called his Macy's All-Stars, and he'd do like a little ride in July up there, and we would try to ride the Macy's course in July, and we never finished. We never finished. We always found usually Alma and stopped at the gas station, and then was like, what's the easiest way back to Eskridge? We're done.
I think when we talk with Muncie County, like you talk about this 100 miles in July and whatnot, there's a lot of people that couldn't finish that a month after they just did 200 miles in a day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Muncie County is a beast in itself.
Yeah. I went up for Macy's, which was a month before Unbound, and the 100-mile would absolutely destroy me, but then I'd come and do the 200 just fine.
Yeah, it was.
So,
we always looked at Macy's as kind of that last big shakeout back in the day.
Right. So I just scared everybody away from signing up for the event. But the point of the 75-mile, for
it's
example,
not that bad, folks.
No. For example, what I've added to it is, in that 75 miles, you will also have 4 aid stations.
Okay.
2 of those aid stations will be gas stations. So you can stop and get as much ice, get as much liquid refreshments, your own catered nutritional needs as you need along the way. You got to pay for it.
Yeah.
But, along the way, yeah. So within that 75 miles, you'll have 4 aid stations, and we'll have roaming Jeeps that also have hydration on board the roaming Jeeps. I always cramped up when I did these rides up there because there's so many hills. You will be cared for. It's still good. It will be a challenge. It will hurt here and there, but you will be cared for as much as possible up there.
That's cool.
So,
because it is barren.
It is barren.
But it's gorgeous.
It's oh my gosh,
I
it's
don't
so
even know how to
beautiful.
describe.
I'm just saying that's the part about riding up in that area that hopefully people don't get scared away. It's a lot of climbing. Yeah, it's gonna be harsh conditions, but man, it's some of the most beautiful riding up there. And I wouldn't, like I say, if you get a chance to go up there and sign up.
Yeah, I mean, you could go out there, look on Instagram, look on Facebook, Rock Ridge Gravel, and follow me on those, and you're going to see the photos and the pictures of that, because I am trying to entice you with the beauty of the area.
The name is Rock Ridge Gravel.
Rock Ridge
What's
Gravel.
the date?
So the great date is July 8th and 9th.
Okay.
Let me say why I say that specifically.
Yes, get into
July
the distances.
9th is you have a 75-mile ride or a 30-mile family-friendly ride. The 30-mile family-friendly ride, it does have some elevation, quite a bit because you have to, but it does also, I've got some flat land in there also so you can enjoy. And it has 2 aid stations too.
Cool.
So you're going to be cared for on that one. Now, here's the fun part. July 8th, and this is going to be capped at only 50 people. And we're already halfway to that 50 because people are crazy. July 8th, which is a Friday, at 9 o'clock at night is when you roll out. You leave Alma at 9 o'clock at night, and you ride 150 miles in July through the night. And the slowest rider, so you do the math, slowest rider should finish right around 1 or 2 the next day, p.m. So the point of all these rides also is that all these rides should finish by 2 p.m. The heat of the day, you should be done. Even the 10 mile per hour average person should be done by 2 p.m. on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And you get out of the heat, you get in the AC. The 150 will have multiple aid stations, although through the night should be it should be 70s in Kansas. Now, it'll be humid, but it should be mid-70s in Kansas.
And we're talking historical weather.
Yeah, historical
But we live
weather.
in Kansas.
It could be
So it
anything.
could be a 60-degree July day, too.
It could be anything, right. And let me tell you this. If you've ridden through the Flint Hills, the deep Flint Hills, not just around Emporia, but the deep Flint Hills at night, it's absolutely gorgeous. You will think that you will hear sounds you've never heard. You will think that things are following you in the grass next to you. It's just beautiful.
Everything's following
Have
you
you
in
ever
the
had
grass
a
out there
Have you
at
ever
night.
had a badger scream at you?
I've never had a badger scream at me. No, I've had plenty of coyotes.
Matt has.
Yeah, Neil scared one up for me one day.
I imagine it's
Still
a
mad
little
about it,
ferocious,
too.
right?
Oh, it was me.
Did you pedal faster?
Oh yeah.
See,
yeah.
so you'll get through the night fast. The night will be no issue because you'll have badgers chasing you. So the night will be no issue. But yeah, I'm really excited about that. And like I say, it's already halfway full on that one. So if you want to do that one, you got to jump in there fast. And I'm not going to raise that very much the first year.
150 miles.
150 miles.
9 p.m.
9 p.m. on Friday. So that allows the localish people from Kansas City or whatever to still get here and ride out, get off work if they want to work the full day.
Full day of working then.
Right, full day of work, come down and
For
go.
150.
And I will say, completely accurate. My inspiration for that ride is Trans-Iowa, Iowa Wind and Rock, the Unbound XL, and the Long Voyage is my inspiration for that. Because I've always wanted to do those rides. I always think I can do those rides. I'm too scared to sign up for those rides, except for I finally signed up for the long voyage last year, and I made it almost through the night, and then realized about 4 in the morning is when you hit this wall. And afterwards I talked to people about this. And 4 in the morning is when you start to hit a wall, 4 to 6. And I wasn't prepared for that wall, and I sat down. And then once I sat down at 4 a.m., I laid down. And then once I laid down at 4 a.m., I just went to sleep. And that was it. The ride was over. So, for anyone who has aspirations to doing those rides or knows that they will never do those, but they'd like to do something like that, that's what this is about. You ride through the night, but you know that you're done the next morning. You're done.
Unlike the adventure route at Flint Hills Gravel Ride, you'll release that route, right? That's a GPS
Oh, yeah,
file.
absolutely.
And stuff.
Absolutely,
Okay.
GPS. Yeah, there's no way I would do that to you. It would not be Q-sheet
Okay.
only to go through the night.
And so you have a little bit of time to study that before
You're
the
going to have time to study. You're going to have time to plan that
Okay.
out.
Because that's the part that would make me nervous, the
Yeah.
navigating at night. And I will say, Muncie County roads are not as simple as Lyon County roads. We're on a square grid paper.
Navigating that in the daytime is sometimes difficult. So
Absolutely.
Okay.
No, absolutely. All of that would be planned out.
That sounds fun because, like, how many times have I talked about riding that I want to do a sunset to sunrise ride?
Yeah.
Roll out at dark of the summer, ride all night till sunrise. I think it
Right.
sounds
And I've already seen some groups forming, and that's entirely what they plan on doing. They're not racing. They're going
You're
off on
completing.
another adventure. I mean, it's an overnight ride, and they're going to form little groups, and they're going to roll together and ride together and make it through the night together.
You're out there to
So-
complete the event at that point.
Absolutely, and
right?
that's right. And for us who are never gonna be on, we don't go to every ride thinking I'm going to be on this podium. I'm going to get a podium. That's the whole point of the ride, is to complete the ride, to complete the challenge, and that's kind of what these events.
Yeah.
I mean, kudos to everyone who can jump on the podium. I love that, but that's what 5% of the riders are out there. So the rest of us are just out there trying to complete the ride and have a good time, and that's what these rides are designed for.
I'm just always hoping when I finish a ride, the podium's still somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It was funny when I did the adventure ride in Americas this year, and it added the 120 mile in. I didn't think to update the same street closure information that I sent out last year.
Oh.
So I had the county giving back the road to the county at 9 p.m. And then I got to thinking, wait a minute, I hope they're all done by 9 p.m. Because it's 12 hours, and they were. But yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing is you want to be there for the very last rider, and you want them to be appreciated just as much as the first rider.
And I think that's what's really great about the gravel community is I think as a whole, generally speaking, we're really good about that.
Oh, absolutely.
There's a lot of other events or any sports out there. You finish the game, you go to it, you pack up and leave.
Yeah.
There's not the hang around and the social aspect that we have with gravel that I think truly makes the gravel vibe special.
Absolutely.
So, where can people find out more information about your two events?
RockRidgeGravel.com
Okay.
and FlintHillsGravel.com.
Okay.
And then you can also follow them underneath the same names on Instagram and Facebook.
Awesome.
No Twitter.
Well, no Twitter. Well, thanks for coming in today, Bobby. Talk to it. It's great to have you back in the studio. What other events, Neil, do you have coming up this summer? What does the rest of the summer look like for you guys?
Well, biggest thing about my summer is, again, when I can get back riding on the
You're
bike.
gonna get back riding.
Yes, I know I am. I just don't know when, because my hope was to obviously be out at Open Range here at the end of April. That's not happening. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Yep. And then my thought was maybe if I could get riding again to get my fitness back and ready for Gravel Worlds, I would be doing La Grind. I'd be doing L Rods. At this point, they're both going to be kind of game time decisions if I can hop on the bike.
Okay.
But Gravel Worlds is ultimately the goal. That's the goal. Finishing the double. So yeah, doing the 50K 50K run, and then
are you going to Worlds?
Not this year.
Okay.
No. And I'll tell you why.
I'm going to Worlds.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm riding Worlds too.
This is if you've ever wanted to go to Worlds, this is the year to go to Worlds. It's going to be a huge party this year.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be awesome.
Jason, Corey, Craig, that whole crew, Sophia.
Yep.
Yeah, so I've got the.
He made me sign up for the 152.
Well, because
it's good for you.
You need to do it, man.
So.
But I've got that stuff on the calendar, and I'm sure I'll find other things throughout the summer.
If it makes you feel better,
too.
I keep putting off training for it till you can ride too. So.
I know you haven't been doing much training, Matt. You need to get on the bike.
Yeah, I've been out on group rides. I've really been enjoying the group rides. Monday night ride, leaving Gravel City there. It's a super chill, about 20 people, 13-mile-an-hour average. Andrew and Lynn lead that one, and they're very good about keeping it about a 13-mile-an-hour average. So it's truly a good beginner ride or shake out the legs from the weekend type ride. And then weather has not been great
Not
this
this
spring here. And not that it's been wet necessarily or stormy. It's just been windy. And we've had one Thursday night group ride this year.
Yeah.
And they've tried for a month and a half.
And tomorrow looks like wind and rain again.
Yeah, absolutely. This week doesn't look much better, but that one, was that last week we went on that one?
Yes.
Yeah,
Correct.
I mean, and that was a fantastic. I think there was over 30-some
Yeah.
people on that. So looking forward to getting out on the group rides all summer. So any parting thoughts, guys?
I'm just glad that Bobby kept his 6K to exactly a 6K because as a runner, that's important to me. I didn't really realize that was important to runners at all. It didn't matter.
Well, to be
me one
fair,
day.
if it's a family run and you're bringing, a younger child with you, then I absolutely 100% get it.
I brought a younger
I'm
child
not-
with me, and we had no idea what we were doing. But
I saw he out-sprinted you to the line, too.
I'm not a runner, so I don't really care. But anyways, thanks for coming in, Bobby. Thanks,
Absolutely.
Neil. As always, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the website, gravelguru.com.